Bluffs Savings Bank, you still get personalized customer service.
We have identity-safe checking with LifeLock, identity theft protection.
You get personal mortgage lending to fit your needs now and in the future.
You get business banking with the latest technology because saving you time saves you money.
At Council Bluffs Savings Bank, you get people who answer when you call and local employees who are actively involved in our community. Council Bluffs Savings Bank, hometown banking the way it used to be.
Welcome, everybody. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order, show that all council members are in attendance. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This time and place for a public hearing as advertised on the matter of Resolution 15-39, vacating and disposing of that part of South 21st Street extending from the south right-of-way of 28th Avenue to the north right-of-way line of relocated 29th Avenue. Is proof of publication on file?
It is on file.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this matter? Mike, name and address for the record.
Mike Geyer, Snyder and Associates, 1751 Madison Avenue, Council Bluffs. We're representing Camping World. It was a petitioner to ask for the vacation of this property. Brian Fortin, our project engineer, is with me here this evening as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
The question came up last time that there was some alternate resolutions on this that you were happy with the staff recommendation as drafted, and that these changes would still meet your needs?
Right, that's for the rezoning part
Correct.
of it. Right, this is for the vacation of the right of way.
Understand.
But for the rezoning, it was initially by planning suggested that we rezone it to I-1, which is what the existing Camping World property is. But in further review, they found that C2 is what fits the comprehensive plan. This is an allowable use or a conditional use in a C2, which the owner has already applied for that as well. So we can still do the same things we want to do with
Right.
a conditional use in a C2. So it works for the owner as well, and we're agreeable to that.
Great. I just wanted to ask that question during the public hearing.
Right. Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Geyer? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to address the council? All right, what is the council's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This is the time and place for a public hearing as advertised on the matter of Resolution 15-40, approving the plans, specifications, cost estimate, and form of contract for the I-29 Mosquito Creek sewer relocation, fiscal year 12-13D. Is proof of publication on file?
It is on file.
Have there been any written protests received?
None received.
Is there anyone who would like to address the council? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This is time and place for a public hearing as advertised on the matter of Resolution 15-41, approving the plan specifications, cost estimate, and form of contract for the Lower Bennett Rehab Phase 6 project, fiscal year 16-10. Is proof of publication on file?
It is on file.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Are there any oral protests in this matter, or anyone who wants to address the council? Seeing none, what is the council's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This is the time and place for a public hearing as advertised on the matter of Resolution 15-42 approving the right-of-way acquisition in connection with the M&P Missouri River Levee District. Is proof of publication on file?
It is on file.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this matter? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This is time and place for a public hearing as advertised on the matter of Resolution 15-43 approving the plan, specification, cost estimate, and form of contract for the Mid-City Trail Project Phase 2. Is proof of publication on file?
It is on file.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Is there anyone who would like to address the council in regards to this matter? Seeing no one, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
My only comment was just to repeat this afternoon, about 75% of the funding for this project will come from MAPPA, and the other percent will come out of the city's CIP budget, and it has been budgeted for.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
This is time and place for a public hearing as advertised on the matter of Resolution 15-45, postponing the public hearing of February 23rd, 2015, 7 p.m. on the approval of the development agreement between the city and XLT, Inc. Is proof publication on file?
It is on file.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Anyone who wishes to address the council on this matter? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Did we miss one?
We missed
We
F.
missed
F. We
one.
didn't do that.
I intentionally went right by that. I marked it so I wouldn't do that, and I marked right against it. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We are backing up to 4F, which is, this is the time and place for a public hearing as advertised on the matter of Resolution 15-44, directing the advertisement for sale of $3,785,000 with a dollar amount subject to change of general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2015B, and approving the electronic bidding procedures and official statement. Is proof of publication on file?
It is on file.
Is proof, have written protests been received?
None received.
Is there anyone who would like to address the council in regards to this matter? What's the council's pleasure?
Motion to approve. Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, I am, for those following along, and I apologize for jumping around, I'm now at 4H. This is the time and place for a public hearing as advertised on the matter of ordinance 6225. Amending the zoning map is adopted by reference in section 15.02.040 by rezoning the north 66 feet of lots 13 and 14 and all of lots 1 through 8 inclusive and all of lots 19 through 28 inclusive and the vacated alleys adjoining said lots all in block 93 Railroad Edition and the east half of the vacated 20th Street right-of-way abutting block 93 between the south right-of-way line of 28th Avenue and the north right-of-way line of relocated 29th Avenue, all in Railroad Edition, from R3, low-density multifamily residential district, to C2, commercial district as defined in Chapter 15.15, is proof of publication on file.
It is on file.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Would anyone like to address the council on this matter? Is there a motion then?
Motion to concur with the recommendation by the Community Development Department.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This time and place for a public hearing is advertised on the matter of ordinance 6226, amending the zoning map as adopted by reference in section 15.02.040 by rezoning the property located at 5675 McPherson Avenue, being one lot in the west part of Lot 2, being Lot 1 in the west part of Lot 2, auditor subdivision of the southeast quarter of section 27-75-43 from A2 Parks, Estates, and Agricultural District to C2 Commercial District as defined in Chapter 15.15. Is proof of publication on file?
It is on file.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Would anyone like to address the council in regards to this matter? Seeing no one, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Motion to waive third.
Second. Sorry.
Discussion on that.
The motion was at the request of the applicant.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Madam Clerk.
Ordinances on first reading. Ordinances amending Title V Sewers and Title II Revenue and Finance, Chapter 2.08.050 Fees and Charges in the Schedule of Fees as authorized in Title V. Ordinance 6227, amending Title V Sewers, Chapter 5.05, Definitions and Abbreviations, and Chapter 5.10, General Restrictions, by amending Sections 5.05.010, 5.05.020, 5.10.040, 5.10.080, 5.10.110, 5.10.120, and 5.10.150.
Just can't do that again.
You're going to read
don't
both of
want
them
to.
together as one?
We can.
Yeah.
I'd rather keep them separate.
Keep separate, okay.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there a discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Now, ordinance 6228, amending Title II Revenue and Finance, Chapter 2.08, Schedule of Fees by amending Section 2.08.050 and setting a public hearing for February 23rd, 2015 at 7 p.m.
Move the ordinance to second reading and set public hearing for 7 p.m. February 23rd.
Second.
Discussion.
Great.
For the folks at home, we received some very preliminary budget numbers for the next fiscal year, and those were very preliminary, and the mayor still needs time to work out some details with his staff. We anticipate a more detailed budget booklet to be presented to us in the coming days for review. I've spent a lot of time comparing numbers on various reports against prior budget reports, and I have concerns about the proposal for us, and I'm hoping that with careful study of the mayor's new budget that some of those concerns will be resolved.
Greg, you had some charts and graphs that you showed us this afternoon. Did you want to show those? I realize the public hearing is in 2 weeks, but maybe to give people a jump start on it.
So, we are in the process of requesting the council increase the sewer rates. Our revenues don't meet our expenditure requirements. We haven't increased rates for 10 years. I think we're probably past due. Having said that, we're considering, having the council consider not only increasing the rates to meet our revenue obligations, but we're asking adjustments in the actual rate structure itself to make the rates more equitable amongst the user classes. Currently, the residential and smaller volume users pay a disproportionate amount of their share to the sewer fund at the benefit of the large volume users. And that, for Council Bluffs was established 30-plus years ago, and it was fairly typical of the time to grant volume discounts, so to speak. Over the years, the trend has kind of reversed, and it's gotten back to more equitable rates. So my gallon costs the same as your gallon, and the same as every other business's gallon. So with that, what we've provided here is some typical bills for you folks here at Council of Same thing. This is a bar chart that shows 800 cubic feet per month usage. The green bar is the current rate. The dark blue bar is the proposed rate year one. This is a 5-year rate increase spread out over 5 years. And the red are other communities that are in Iowa or in metro area that have a higher rate than we will, higher bill. And the blue bar is a community that would have a lower rate than us. In that case, it's Nebraska. It's relatively close to where we're proposing to be in that year. That's your typical residential bill. Obviously, some residential users use more than some others. Depends on how big the family is. The middle chart is a bill at 1,500 cubic feet per month. So I would think that would be a very, very, very large residential user or a small commercial user, such as we have that office bill, small office bill. You can see again, in a comparison to our peers, generally speaking, our new rate is still going to be considerably low what typically other cities are paying. Cedar Rapids and Lincoln show up that kind of cities that are comparable to us. The bottom one is 100. I believe the 100 was a small strip mall. And again, Cedar Rapids showed up about the same as our proposed rate. Moving up to higher user, 1,000 cubic feet a month. That was our typical grocery store. Again, you can see there's a couple of cities that would be slightly below us. Omaha, commercial rates, and Cedar Rapids. But still relatively competitive. 3,000 would be a typical motel type use. And generally we're below everybody except Omaha commercial rates. We're about the same ballpark as them. The bottom one is for the very large users, the industries. And this is typical, it's not an actual user in Council Bluffs, but it's kind of an average of our industrial users. And here you can see where we have the greatest inequity in rates. Large industries pay quite a bit less than not only our peers, but on a per volume basis than the rest of the again, we're quite a bit below on that one. Considerably lower than Des Moines, Sioux City, and Kansas City. So that's kind of the impacts of the rate change that we're proposing.
Are those the same charts that were provided to us in December?
It'd been
No,
changed for the new rate structure scenario.
Yeah, I think that was a different rate scenario. That was the 39%.
Right. Well, actually, that was
That was the smaller residential
6%, and then
with everybody at equity at year one.
Oh, right. Year one equity.
So could we get electronic copies of those, please?
Of the,
of the
Oh.
new slide comparisons?
yeah, certainly. I thought I'd sent those, but I will do that. We handed them out, but I can get you electronic as well.
Yeah,
Those are the ones that we sent and handed out this afternoon. at the study
Sure.
session. Okay.
appreciate it.
Any other questions?
No, I just have a comment. We had some preliminary meetings on this issue, so we could kind of figure out how to go forward. And one of the comments that you made to me, Mr. Mayor, it kind of stuck out in my memory. What we're doing here, I mean, nobody likes a rate increase, but what we're doing over the course of the next 5 years is we're fixing an inequity that happened over the course of 30 years. So a 30-year wrong, we're fixing with a 5-year right. And I don't know if I misquoted you, but that stuck in my brain, and so that doesn't make it more palatable, but to me, it sort of resonates.
I think it's important to remember that the sewer system is a fee-based system. It does not come from property tax. The people who use it should pay for it. We've had many years where the city has done a fantastic job. I can't think of anything else in my own life or in the city that for 10 years hasn't gone up a cent. And so for that to go that long shows such good planning on the part of particularly Public Works. At this point, when you look at it, it may have made sense 30 years ago. I'm not sure it did, but it doesn't make sense now that larger users, say of the size of Google, should be paying 5 times less than somebody on Social Security in their house. And so this corrects that, so that if no matter who you are in town, every gallon you use, as Mr. Reeder indicated, everyone else will be paying the same as you. Right now, the biggest users, the 6 largest ones, pay 5 times less. And so you're subsidizing the bigger ones. And we were mindful of the fact that to correct that all in 1 year would be quite a large increase for those large users. So we do it over 5 years in this plan to soften the blow. But it does correct an inequity. Otherwise, if we don't do that, homeowners are going to be subsidizing Google even more, and that just doesn't seem right. They ought to pay for their water just like everyone else. I'm very happy they're in the community, but everybody should pay what they use. And this fixes that. And so doing that means the homeowner increase, it'll be about $2.50 more a month this year. And, but that's so we have a sewer system that works. And without that, we don't have one. And so I believe the mayor is being quite fiscally appropriate and equitable in his plan, and I support it.
And just to be clear, I do very much appreciate the fact that we're trying to create some inequities in large users, and I definitely support that. I think we need to be mindful of where we are presently, where we're headed, and our competition across the river in Nebraska. If we lose track of what we're doing in relationship to them, then I think we're putting businesses, jobs, and all taxpayers at somewhat of a disadvantage. I'm concerned about the amount of revenue being increased by this proposal. I'm concerned about the fact that for some time now, residents in this town have been paying a 1 cent local option sales tax to pay for maintenance of sewers and streets, and we've kind of left a question in many minds as to where that money has gone and where it will be going in the future. So again, I want to study the budget and consider those questions more thoroughly as we move forward.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of setting public hearing for February 23rd, 2015 at 7 p.m. on the revenue and finance schedule of fees, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Nay.
Resolutions, Resolution 15-35, approving and authorizing execution of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Council Bluffs and the Clarity Development Company. Item was postponed from January 26, 2015.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution handed out by City Attorney this afternoon, as opposed to the one in the packet.
Second for purposes of discussion.
And with a second, discussion.
We postponed this from 2 weeks ago. Lack of information, some concern about the project. City Attorney has reworked some of the verbiage to eliminate the city's actual commitment to selling the property without a specific and detailed plan of which would be equal to or better than what was laid out in the resolution. So I was very concerned a couple weeks ago. I didn't want to commit the city to the sale of this property without having some sort of a higher comfort level that a development would occur, and so I'm a little bit more comfortable with the new language.
I am not quite comfortable yet. Many times when we get a proposal and we're talking about the building and the parking lot downtown, I suppose that's probably where Bino's was, or am I off a little bit? It's pretty much, right? Just so folks know what we're talking about. There's a proposal.
Probably the Wickham Building.
Wickham Building, thank you. I appreciate it. A lot of times when we get a proposal, we've got some drawings, we've got some idea. We also know how much overall tax assistance, whether it be in tax increment financing, TIF, or any of those kind of things. And at this point, I just don't feel like we have enough information. I really would like to see something happen there, but I'd like to see a little bit more from the proposed developer before we enter into even memorandums of understanding about it. So I look forward to seeing more information, but unfortunately right now I just can't support it as it is.
I'm still not real comfortable with it. Typically we get some type of a recommendation from a department before we move forward with something like this, and I didn't feel like I got really any more information today than I had before. The memorandum of understanding was reworded. It did take some of the onus off of the city as far as being tied in, but it's my preference that when we're moving forward with the memorandum of understanding, it's with recommendations and a lot more information than what we really have.
Well, and one of the difficulties here is that the developer doesn't have control of the land, and so for them to go out and spend money with an architect to design something that may or may not happen if they don't have any potential of getting the land doesn't make sense, which is why this makes it a little different than what we typically see. The memorandum of understanding hopefully would define that and what the process would be, and so that they then could get the plans worked up, present them to community development, get that recommendation you're looking for. But unfortunately, this is one of those chicken or the egg deals, and it doesn't make sense to the developer to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars if there isn't any commitment on the part of the city council, if they are going to invest their money, that there's potential that the project could move forward. So that's why I'm not trying to sway you one way or the other. I'm just telling you that's why you're not getting a recommendation from community development. They haven't been before community development yet because they haven't done that legwork that they would have done if they had control of the land.
I get that, you know, they don't know what the soil underneath is gonna be like, it's in a floodplain, and I understand that there's a lot of work that needs to be done before a plan could come forward. I am a lot more comfortable seeing a plan, but I understand the reasons why they can't give us one. And that's basically, was my largest concern, and why I asked city attorney to insert some language. I did not want to pass anything that would, or vote for anything that would commit the city. And Dick, correct me if I'm wrong, but this action tonight does not actually commit the city from selling the property. Everything is dependent upon the actual plans and more details. That's correct, right?
Yes, everything is dependent upon a project being put together to extent that matches the, what's in the MOU, and them being able to have financing in place for that project.
Well, and I do understand that. I think that, you know, part of it is that what's in the MOU calls for 60 to 70 units, but I don't know if those are going to be market rent units, and I don't know how low income we're talking, and if the market can bear that much more not rent controlled, but lower income housing, apartment units, you know, can we absorb that much? I like, you know, the retail portions of that, the restaurants, all of that seems like something that we need in the downtown. It's just that I don't have enough information about what type of units, and, you know, it doesn't sound like they're going to be market rent, and if they're not, what studies were done to indicate that the market can absorb that? I just have some concerns about the overall plan.
We didn't ask that this afternoon either, did we?
Here.
I had that.
Is here,
Is
if
he
you
here?
want to know, Tom isn't, but
I had that on my list and I forgot to ask this afternoon.
Excuse me, near Jaguar for Clarity Development Company, Tom McClay could not make it. I guess with respect to concerns, yes, this is kind of a chicken and egg, as it's been mentioned, really to properly assess really the amount of units, the amount of retail, really the true shape of this project. We really need to conduct, I guess, due diligence. We do look at state tax credits possibly as a means of financing, and other tools as well, TIF included. But really to really assess the site, there are floodplain issues, there are various issues we really have to address. We would really have to have somewhat control over the site for us to, again, invest that money and time into doing due diligence without really having any commitment whatsoever on the land. Makes it difficult for us to really proceed.
You don't specifically know, assuming the soil everything is fine, you don't know what kind of units you would be building, the type of apartment buildings?
With respect to whether it be, I guess, low income or market rate, we've looked at both options. It's something we look further depending on the financing we get from a state portion as far as state tax credits and TIF as well. But it's something we're considering both avenues.
So you don't know yet?
Not definitively, no.
any other questions?
So, back to Dick, and you might be able to address some of this as well. As I'm reading this, I'm always looking at things in terms of where we're putting the city or the taxpayers at risk. And the principal obligation here is that we're creating an option to purchase, but it strikes me that that they would be unlikely to exercise that option if they're not going to go through with the overall project. Have I got that basically right?
Correct.
So at this point, we're not placed under any risk. I have the same questions and curiosity, you know, that this background on this proposal is woefully lacking at this point. But this will provide, at minimum, an opportunity to start to get some of that fleshed out so we can get the questions answered so that we can make a more informed decision. Correct me if I missed something.
My question would be then that if they, you know, what the caveat was is they have to have a fully funded development project in order for the option to be done. But if that fully funded development project included 70 very low income, depending on what range that's going to be in, is that what we as a city, and do we need that much housing downtown? But if we agree to this, then we'd be obligated, because all they have to do is do what number 4 says. And number 4 isn't got a lot of specifics in it, and that's where my issue comes in, is that, they could go in with, very low income housing in enough units that we would have maybe some difficulties in even absorbing that. And do we need, what are the needs? We don't have any studies on that. So I just feel like that it is unusual, and I do realize that. It is an unusual position to be in, where you don't own the land.
Can we insert a sentence that would speak to that concern? To limit, is that, I don't know.
Well, right now, we'd be obligated to do the option if they build a 4-story building with this footprint, as I understand it. Whatever that footprint is, whatever it looks like, whatever is in it.
There's a dollar amount.
There's a dollar amount, and of course, there'd be zoning that they'd have to meet, of course. But I don't even know what it would remotely look like. And to take that ground on such a speculative venture at this point, when it's been improved by a businessman who's using it for very, very needed parking, and we know that for sure. And here we don't know. There are ways of doing testing on land you don't own. You can come to agreements. Presumably, even if they were to own it, we wouldn't suddenly kick out the parking, and for the next 6 or 9 months there'd be no parking. So people would still park on it for the most part, whatever we do. So it seems we give out a lot of governmental benefits, and I imagine more will be asked for. I don't think it's too much to ask in the beginning for folks, just like they do in the private business world. If you want to do a deal with me, you've got to do your due diligence, the so-called do your homework, on your own dime. It seems like we're bending over backwards and giving away too much at this point when we don't even know what it would look like. I really think I'd love to see a serious proposal, and people like, for example, last year we had, last 2 years, we had the proposal to convert an old school building. The developer did put in the time on a building it does not own to look up the plans, and did all those things, and so that's the normal course.
It had an option to own, though.
That's true.
In this case, there is no option to own, and so.
That's true, though. They could get an option to do their test on it.
Is there a way, though, in number 4 to add a sentence saying if they exceed X percentage of lower income or higher income or whatever it is, that it's subject to that as well? We could tighten this up. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
On the 20 million for the whole project, and just that would include the existing building, wouldn't it?
Yes.
The 20 million includes rehabbing of the existing building, and that could be a substantial amount of that $20 million, depending on what they're doing. So
it isn't a floodplain, and so it's going to take a lot of the money for that building to get it ready, even just to move the electrical up from the basement, because it can't be there anymore.
The hard thing is, obviously, this would be very nice to see it developed. We want this area developed, but yeah, it's a question of, do we need it? Normally we do. We have a lot more information first before we make a decision. So I think that is definitely the concern here. And I get that it's kind of hard what comes, but.
Yeah, and for me, I didn't want to commit the city or the taxpayers to anything without having that information, and which is why this was watered down, but maybe it's not watered down enough.
It improves it greatly. I can't deny that. It's just, I'm not sure how else to write it, because there's so many unknowns, and I can't think of a catch-all way to write it that would be enforceable without knowing more.
Dick, do you have any comment on that?
No, that's the issue I've had drafting this from the get-go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't fault the drafting. Yeah,
I think it's definitely a lot better than it was. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
doubt that it's a lot better, but, I mean, what would happen if tonight we don't, then they can always come back to us later with more set plans, and we can then, would be an option.
I guess, yeah, I mean, I feel like one concern is whether this would be entirely low-income housing, or would it be mixed income or market rate. That's something we've looked at. Honestly, it's one of those things to pursue this. It's not only putting time and money into due diligence, as you've stated, but it's also really in pursuing these financing measures, given the scale of the project, both new construction and rehab. We'd be looking at, TIF, state tax credits, and potentially other sources of funding, debt included. And really, to pursue these sources, even to apply for them, we do need some kind of site control. An option to purchase is really the really lease commitment that typically a city or a seller can provide. And I guess, I mean, I'm not sure if the city council would like images, design schematics, if that would make them more amenable. However, I guess with respect to 100% low income, mixed income, or market rate, that's something we're really going to have to, I guess, discuss more so as we, get this property hopefully under control and get a market study done and look further into this process.
Going forward in subsequent steps, would we have say or control over the mix of units? Is that the next step, the development agreement? Would we specify that in the development agreement? This is just like the initial step
Yes.
to go forward?
The next step, as I see it, would be to draft and enter an option or a purchase agreement on the property. And we could be somewhat more specific on that, but until they actually have studied the market and looked at either being told yes or no on certain types of financing for the project, it's going to be hard for them to come back and really give you much detail on how they intend to proceed with the project.
And is there a different control factor between purchase and lease? Could you do a long-term lease subject to certain things that would maybe give I don't know that it makes much difference if it's 6 of one or half a dozen of the other.
Still potentially lose the current use, when that happens. It's,
Wait, we've been talking for about 4 months, and the very things that are taking place in this conversation have taken place. It's an unusual situation. Any other discussion?
I think so. Oh, Valerie, do you want?
Is it appropriate for me to speak?
On this issue?
I think so. Oh, you can speak, yeah, we let that, you just limited to 5 minutes.
Hi, Valerie Ware. The address is 51027 Ashton Road, Glenwood. I live in the country, but I claim Council Bluffs as my town. I just wanted to make a few comments about this. I think it's an exciting development. I say don't be discouraged, keep working at it. This is exactly the type of downtown revitalization that we need. Yes, there's some details to be worked out, and I wanted to say that I support this, and I want everybody to work hard to get it to go together. But I did want to point out a couple of concerns that I had about the aesthetics of the building. Right now, that Broadway corridor has been cited not once but twice in 2 studies that have been paid for by the city in the 2030 Bluffs Tomorrow Comprehensive Plan, and then again in the newly released South Main Cultural District study. They talk about that corridor as being it's disjointed from the rest of the city, and we want to connect the 100 block to the rest of downtown. And I just wanted to, I don't think that there's anything in the memorandum of understanding regarding the aesthetics. And I know that the city does not have any design standards that have been adopted besides code. But I just wanted to make sure that whatever they put in there or whatever, I mean, certainly that one building, I don't think they could do anything that would make it, I mean, uglier. I just can't imagine that. That is, it is not a very charming building at all. But I'd like to see something that is aesthetically pleasing, it is complementary to the downtown area, and it provides a cohesive look to the whole area as well. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Another aspect of this project is the development agreement that would have to be entered because they're looking for TIF revenue as well, which that would give us control over design standing. Typically, that's where we insert those obligations in the development.
So would the parking lot still be given up though?
In my mind, the development agreement would have to be being put together at the same time that they're trying to get their project and financing put together, because that's when they'll learn the details of what needs to be in that development agreement.
But that would have to be in place before any sale happens, transfer of property title.
Yes.
Okay.
So that would still be before the
And that will come before the council?
Both the option agreement or purchase agreement,
The
whatever,
development agreement?
plus the development agreement.
Yes. Okay.
But my curiosity and my concern just went up precipitously because now we are beginning to address other types of financing that will be required later on to complete this project. And I am very concerned about, given the projects that we already have on the planning board, if you will, what are we going to be asked to pitch in on this later on once we've gotten more detail on this? So
There's a number in here. 3 million.
3 million.
well, but unless I misheard what he's saying, he was talking about the possibility of other financing being requested later on.
I thought he was talking
Not through the
state.
city, it'd be through the state and
State.
other entities possibly, but not the city.
Okay. So
Can you clarify
I've
that?
had plenty of folks come back for more, though.
Yeah.
And it is getting old.
And I kind of wanted some sort of reassurance that we weren't going to be asked to dip deeper into the taxpayer's pocket to work this out.
Yes, to clarify, as far as, city financing, the only thing we're looking at is TIF. There are other state really funding mechanisms, and there's just state tax credits, but from a city level, it's really TIF we're looking at.
Bruce?
Bruce Kelly, 864 McKenzie Avenue. Is there going to be an impact study on, because right now you put X amount of apartments of 2 people or maybe more into an area where there's not a lot of entertainment. We only got one small park. We got a lot of parking problems. We're taking away, and then you already got the bank building over on the other parking lot. Where are these people going to park or even be entertained in the downtown area? Because all we have is North Broadway and a few places down here, and you're putting in 300 to 400 more people into a small area that we can't handle right now with parking.
I think part of that design would be to look at a parking garage. They've talked about that, some type of parking facility, and then they could go to Hounds for entertainment.
City standards require that so many parking stalls per apartment unit.
Well, that's another thing, but right now we got a parking lot, and when it's not being used, then we got events going on downtown Council Bluffs, we can use that parking area. And we're already sold one to the bank, and now we're going to be getting rid of another one. That just leaves basically the one, we only got the other one up there by Firestone, and that small area there, that's be the only parking lot left in the immediate area. We need parking. I know you guys all know that.
It would be part of the city's requirements would be to provide a certain amount of parking for the tenants, so.
Yeah, but I
couldn't
like
do
an
it. They couldn't do it
impact
without
study
parking.
because else you put another 300 people, 200 people, I don't care, and then boom, they don't want to be indoors. You got Bayless Park, that's only a block square, and then you only can go down to First Avenue or First Street so many times to be entertained. We need to know what else is planned for this area, for these people to live down there. You just don't want them say, here you go, you're on your own.
The
100
intent is to have commercial uses on the main floor.
Yeah, no, not all, I don't know if you're going to be maybe putting in handicap and stuff like that. There's only so many people we can handle living in the downtown Council Bluffs area. That's why I meant an impact, if there is any city impact study, that how many people we can handle in this area.
I think it'd probably be a nice problem to have, frankly, there.
Yeah.
One of the things we're trying to do is create activity to
More
bring
people
people down to this area, and so
Mhm.
we're not trying to chase people away, we're trying to bring them down, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll be back. I got other things I want to talk.
Sure. Thank you.
I think, just briefly, I think Val Ware, Ms. Ware said it best, quite frankly, when she just spoke a little bit ago in public comment about how even if this doesn't pass tonight, I don't believe anyone up here, I'm certainly speaking for myself, I'm not saying that I don't want to see development in the downtown. Far from it, I do. I just don't think this one is quite ready for prime time to obligate the city in any form or fashion at this point until I think private business ought to do some of its due diligence, just like it would with other private business, and not obligate the city taxpayers. I just think it's early. I want to see it happen. I also share Ms. Ware's concern about aesthetics and how it will fit into the whole area, because as this is written right now, there's absolutely no assurance whatsoever as to what it would look like. And so you might ask, why would government have any say in that? Well, if we're going to be giving tax money to a project, then it can't be for free. There's got to be some trade-off to the public good. And I just don't know what that'd be yet. I hope it'll be fantastic. I just don't, I need something in front of me more clear than this. And I hope to see it.
Any other discussion? I believe we have a motion on the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Nay.
For those at home, because sometimes they tell me they can't tell when it's a voice vote, it was 1 in favor and 4 against. Madam Clerk?
Resolution 15-46, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with H.J.M. Associates Incorporated for engineering services in connection with CBIS Woodbury Avenue Sewer Relocation Project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 15-47, granting approval of tax abatement on improvements made to real property at 920 South 17th Street in the Indian Creek South Urban Renewal Area during the 2014 tax assessment year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 15-48, directing the corrected advertisement for a sale of $8,300,000, dollar amount subject to change, general obligation bond series 2015A, and improving electronic bidding procedures and official statement.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Applications for permits and cancellation 7A 1 through 5.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
One of these, I will vote for this tonight because I do believe that the owner, and significantly working with the police chief, who has put in an amazing amount of effort and time into this, and I have nothing but praise for the chief of police. And we're talking about hounds on the 100 block. There have been a lot of problems. I think there were at least 23. There have been some quibbling over the numbers, but several in any event. Public disorder and selling to people underage and people apparently well on duty drinking, and just really disturbing the neighborhoods around it, disturbing the area. There are a lot of folks, myself included, if I may say so, who won't walk on that side of the street at night because it's just not terribly safe, and particularly if I'm with my family, like a lot of other people tell me, I don't want my little niece to see and hear that. And there is a plan in place to clean it up. I commend the owner for stepping forward to do that. But I do want to make it very clear that if there isn't a follow-through on that, speaking for myself, I won't hesitate a minute to try to revoke their license before it comes up again next year for the regular annual renewal, because things have got to improve for the sake of the community, the other businesses in the area, and I really genuinely hope they do. So I will support this second chance.
Well said. Couldn't agree more with those comments.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Any requests from citizens to be heard?
None received.
Bruce?
Up and ready.
Okay, if I-
Yeah.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Oops, sorry.
It's the 1940s. We've always had some kind of a patrol to help with our city. It was the civil defense, and then we went to the Council Bluffs Police Reserve. The city supported this until 2007, when basically our chief did not want to put in the time and the money to support this. The state has put in the 80s or 70s, put in requirements that have to be met for any police reserve officer to do anything. When I got on it, you could, as long as you could read, write, and fight, and you could carry, and you could qualify with a gun, could be on there. A lot of it we done was search and rescue. I've walked that river so many times. Anytime there was anything at Bayless Park, we were here. All the parades, we were here. We directed traffic and everything. The city has expanded now that you got the Tom Hannafin, and the police department could be spread really thin. We did park patrols all summer long, every night, and everything else. We always had a car out. All they did was at parks only. And this is something that really could benefit the city to keep in. I've talked to a couple of you before that it's something that I was on, and I enjoyed it. And I had problems, and that's why I left. But the thing is, it is a great organization. When we had our tornado, we had reserves and special deputies from all over the state come and help with us. All volunteers. We supported each other. They're not a paid position. A lot of places, they have to buy their own uniforms and gun belts and stuff like that. And then the city pays them their $1 a year, but the city has to set up through the state the program to train them. I think you can read, I think it's 18 months before you got to get it done for one person has to get through the training. And it's an application position just like anything else. And I think the way our city is growing and stuff, we could really use it. It's like a volunteer fire department, which in Iowa we don't want to talk about right now. Anybody have any questions about this?
For those with institutional knowledge on this, do you
Well, you know, it's a little bit of a confusing situation, and it goes to all our public safety. Some people are paid and others aren't paid, but they share the role, and then if you require them to be there in certain hours, are they employees or are they volunteers? And so it's an HR question, I think, and frankly, it's a union question. You know, I don't hear the police department coming to me and saying we really could use a bunch of volunteers to take our place. But I've never asked them the question if they could use them. So, you know, again, I think there's some HR things that need to be investigated. I think some discussions.
These are not to replace the police department and their men. These are for like special things. I mean, you have all these concerts going down there.
Yeah.
You could have used them during that flood. I mean, the manpower of the police department and city was drained.
I think, if I remember right, and again, I'm pulling numbers out of the air, but police services brought in about $635,000, or projected to bring in that amount of money in the next budget year, and that would be providing security for those types of events and getting reimbursed for that, which is revenue into the city. A lot of it is money in, money out, because it goes to the officers, but
Probably, is there a liability issue concern as well?
I'm thinking, well, there's liability, but there is a mandatory training, as he's explained, to try to limit that. I'm thinking there might be workers' comp issues.
That's what I was kind of, yeah.
That's the exposure that I think may have ran us into trouble
which is
last time.
your problem. I mean, you were a reserve officer who went on workers' comp because you had an injury on the job.
Yes, I did.
So it's, you know, it's worth investigating. We'll look into it.
Yeah, I'd be interested in, you know, maybe comparing what was done in the past and what the program was that Sheriff Danker manages, because I am concerned about manpower levels. I understand the other concerns, but as the city grows, it certainly helps to have more eyes and ears out there available, and if we can do that in a way that makes sense and helps to get people more involved in community policing, then in the end I think that this has larger benefits to it. So I would be interested in following this out.
And, you know, once they have their status as reserve officer, they often get part-time jobs as security guards at grocery stores for that type of thing as well. Needed out there.
But see, when we had that, there was, because they did get those kind of jobs, that went back in to buy equipment for the reserves. That's how we help pay for. I got donations and everything else, and we bought our own radios. And then, see, when I got on there, there was no such a thing as a vest. And a lot of our guys went and bought, and I think the reserves bought some of their own, that we bought some of the vests for them. We didn't ask the city to pay for that. After a while, the city was paying for all the leather and the uniforms, which they didn't have. In some cities, they don't do that. Just like Danker, they got to buy their own uniforms. There's no rank, That was one of the things the state of Iowa requested, that all reserves not be out there with ranking officers, because you're a reserve and you're a ranking officer, all ranks were taken away and all of that. They're just volunteers, like you said. You got all these parks, you got games and everything else, and we patrolled these parks and we had less problems. And if you look on the maps, there's parks, area, land that aren't even marked as parks, but they are park property, and we'd even go in and look at them. It's just something that, it helps when you need more manpower at a certain time.
Thank you. I'll look into it. Report back. Anybody else from the audience?
Jim Nelson, 102 Shaley Circle. Mr. Mayor, you're right, and they have a voice vote. Kind of hard to understand. I'd like to go back to 4E. What was the vote on that? That's a mid-city trail.
I believe it was 4-1.
Okay.
4 in favor, 1 against.
That's a pretty good project, and I see a lot of pluses for the city. One of my pet peeves is when you have something that's been planned for years, and you have somebody vote against it and not explain it. So whoever voted against it, I'd like a reason why.
Sure. As I stated in previous sessions when we've discussed Mid-City Trail project, while I see a lot of merits to the project moving forward, at this point the plans for the rest of the development in that corridor remain outstanding. We essentially have here a trail segment that's not connected, goes through an area that I think causes some concerns, and the amount of money that's being spent, while it's not significant, we're asking the citizens and the taxpayers to make other sacrifices.
And the city's only paying 25% of this. This was a pretty good deal for us.
Well, no, the rest of the funding is MAPA funding, so that is government funding. So that's coming out of another taxpayer pocket.
This connects downtown to the pedestrian bridge, which is going to be huge.
I understand that. It's just a matter of prioritization while we're considering a budget and having to consider other expenses.
Jim, he's explained his position after the council meeting. You're more than welcome to talk to him, but it's not a debate. So, anybody else from the audience? Anybody from the council? See no one, we're adjourned. Hey, on the budget.
At Council Plus Savings Bank, you still get personalized customer service.
We have identity safe checking with LifeLock, identity theft protection.
You get personal mortgage lending to fit your needs now and in the future.
You get business banking with the latest technology, because saving you time saves you money.
At Council of Savings Bank, you get people who answer when you call and local employees who are actively involved in our community. Council Bluffs Savings Bank, hometown banking the way it used to be.